Good morning, my name is John Crothers. I'm the head of the ferry department for Kawell USA. And today we're going to work on doing some shoe modifications on our copper alloy horseshoes. The copper alloy shoes are great for antimicrobial, antibacterial, antifungal treatments of any hoof related issues. Our copper is EPA certified and it will kill 99.9% of bacteria. One of the fears that many farriers have is working copper in the forge. So we're going to go through some of the steps, same modifications you'd be doing on a steel shoe. We're just going to talk about watching your temperatures and going through the steps. So we'll get started. So we're going to work on demonstrating pulling clips. Now, pulling clips, there's multiple tools, multiple ways that it can be done. You can use cross peen hammer to pull your source. You can use a cone hammer. Sometimes I've heard people call it a bullet hammer, but mostly a cone hammer, clipping hammer. And some people just use a general ball peen hammer from a hardware store. Your preference is your choice. Today I'm going to be using the bob punch, and this is how I'm going to pull the source for my clips. I use all the different techniques of pulling clips. It's just a matter of where I'm at that day and what I wanted to use. Get our forge lid up. The shoes fit nicely into a 5/16 tong. Okay, so we're just going to pull a couple clips on this shoe. You want to watch your heat. We can heat these shoes up to 1100 degrees. I don't usually take them to that point. 1100 degrees is going to be going into a yellow heat. Typically, I work them in a dark red or a bright red heat. So it's kind of in between working aluminum and working steel. So we're just going to keep checking our shoe. If you want to be very accurate with it, you can always use a tempy stick. Again, you can get up to 1100. It's not necessary though. Just starting to get some color into that. I'm going to get a little bit more color going here. Now you can see where we got some good red. It's kind of a dark red, which is plenty of heat for pulling a clip. I'm going to move the shoe over my hardy hole just a little bit to enhance my source. Level this up a little bit. And then I like to hang my shoe over the side of my face just a little bit and use the round side of my rounding hammer to push that source on over. Now we'll go ahead and pull the clip. Okay, so we'll come back and we'll level that in. We're going to kind of blend that clip into the shoe. Okay, so we got still a good stout. There's still plenty of material. If we wanted to pull a little taller clip, we could. good stout base on our clip. Here, tapers up a bit. We'll go ahead and pull that just a little bit taller. So there we go. Clean up the corners of our clip and our hardy hole. We can take this, we can either use a rasp and clean these edges up a little bit or take it to the grinder. So let's go ahead and get another heat on this shoe and we'll pull the clip on the opposite side. Okay, so we'll pull the clip on the opposite side of the shoe. Pull into my hardy hole just a little bit. Then we're going to push that source over the corner of the anvil. Clean up our corners. And level up our shoe. I'm gonna blend this clip just a little bit into the web of the shoe. And there we go. That's pulling two clips on a size 1 Kawell copper alloy horseshoe. Pulling the clip doesn't matter what your technique is. This is just what I do. Again, I use multiple different hammers and ways to pull clips. The manufacturers even make clip starters that fit in your hardy hole. Doesn't matter how you want to do it, just watch your heats when you're using the copper alloy. Next, we'll go ahead and, doesn't hurt to quench. But next, we'll just kind of clean up these edges a little bit here on the grinder. If you want to make that look a little prettier, a little sexier for the owner, we'll just kind of When you forge these shoes, you'll get some discoloration. You want to make that look pretty, what the owner's going to see. You can just take your grinder, clean this all up. You can clean up the foot or ground surface if you'd like. That just gives a nice, shiny, pretty look for the owner. Okay, so a lot of times in our hind patterns, they're very blunt toe. And in my practice, I like to shoe the radius of the white line. And I don't see very many radius of the white line this blunt. So we're going to go through the steps of putting a nice radiused hind toe into this shoe, and then we're going to continue on and put some extended heels on this shoe. So we'll just do a couple more modifications to our clipped shoe. Simple modifications that you need to be able to do on an everyday practice. Okay, so when I'm going to do a toe on a hind foot, a hind shoe, I'm going to pick a sweet spot in my horn where I like the radius, and I'm just going to wrap that toe to that radius. So it'll take a couple steps. And I just worked down to my first nail hole, the toenail hole. Going to give it a little bit more. You want to make sure that you're striking where you have a gap between the horn and the shoe, so you're not smashing stock. So now you can see how much more radius. We're just a little bit off center, a little bit off set. So we're just gonna get our shoe symmetry back. Easy to do. We'll take a little bit, level this up just a little bit. And now we're gonna go in for heat on our heels and turn our extended heels. Everybody has their own ways of doing this. What I'm doing doesn't mean that this is exactly how you need to do it. It's whatever works for you. When I start my extended heels, I'm going to be using the round face of my hammer. I'm going to be lifting my shoe as I'm striking straight down with my hammer. Now I always seem to straighten my branch a little bit. So I'll put that bend back in the heel quarter there. So that's simply just putting extended heels into your hind shoe. Now, why do we need extended heels? Extended heels will help with some support, some caudal support for the horse. It'll help with some if you're dealing with some overreaching issues, it'll bring that foot into the ground a little bit better. But mostly I use extended heels just for that caudal support, just for that posterior caudal support for the horse's hind fetlock and pastern. Okay, so we're gonna punch some extra nail holes in this shoe. From time to time, you're gonna have a foot that the nail holes just don't work for you. You may need to have a nail hole someplace in between. You may need to, if you're dealing with a thinner walled horse, you may need to punch some nail holes in this outer web. And if you're needing to add, you got a severely rotated toed in foot, you may want to punch nail holes towards the inside web. So to do that, if we're going to punch a nail hole in the crease, we're going to use a drift. Okay, a drift is going to just give you your nail stamp that in a crease that's already fit for a nail head. If we're going to punch in our outer web or our inner web, we're going to use a 4-punch. And there's 2 different 4-punches. You got your city punch and you got your E-punch, depending on what nail stamp you're using. These shoes are already punched for an E head, so we're going to stay with the E-punch. Then to finish out your nail hole, once you get your head stamp in there, either your drift or your 4-punch, we're going to use a Pritchel to finish out our nail hole and punch that final slug of material out of the shoe. So I'm going to start with the drift and punch a nail hole in the crease. Okay, so another thing with punching the nail holes, less heat is better on these copper alloys. You'll get less distortion. We want to just get a little bit more than that, but you won't get the frog eyes as bad with the copper if you stay at a lower heat. So we're going to manage our heat just a little bit here so we don't get big frog eyes that we have to worry about forging out. That's plenty of heat. Don't even hardly see any color in this. So if we're maybe missing some hoof wall and we need to move our nail hole, I'm going to just punch a nail hole there. And then again, we don't want to go straight to our Pritchel, or else we'll end up tearing the metal out instead of shearing it out. So I'm letting that cool just a little bit, but let's say we need to leave, let's say we got a thinner hoof wall that we need to have a finer punched nail hole. I'm going to get my 4-punch in there. And I'm going to just kind of tune that back in a little bit with the drift. Make sure I got my punch deep enough. Now we'll go back and we'll go ahead and Pritchel out. See, our metal is still just a little bit warm. That's why our slugs aren't just punching straight out. Now, when you're punching out this fine into the shoe, you're gonna end up with frog eyes. That's very hard to get rid of. We can try to clean that up just a little bit, but it's gonna be very difficult to get rid of that frog eye. Without smashing our nail hole to the point where clean it up with the drift a little bit. Here you can see one of the little slugs that we punched out. We'll clean up this nail hole just a little bit. Okay, so there's a couple nail holes punched into the shoe. And again, we're not going to be able to get rid of all that frog eye as fine as that nail was punched without continually smashing our nail hole.